Welcome to Two Open Doors, the podcast that explores our power to open or close the doors of relationship with the important people in our lives. We hope you'll learn from and share your wisdom with our community. Thanks for joining us. This issue marks the 52nd post in the Two Open Doors podcast. It has been a full year since the start of this adventure. As a reflective individual, I see this as a good time for a brief retrospective, an occasion to look back over the course we've run, to highlight some key learnings, and to see where the future might take us. After all, relationships and intimacy are huge topics to explore, so it's good to have a map and compass. We've covered a lot of terrain in the last 52 posts. Our travels have included looking at the many facets of how we humans relate to and interact with one another. We've seen how body, mind, emotion, and spirit all play a role in connecting us with one another. We've taken a look at how relationship can provide a path for us to fully find and express who we are as individuals, and how we fully expand our reality to encompass people and things outside ourselves. We've also examined some of the many forms that relationships can take, whether with one person or with several. We've noted some of the challenges that can arise in relationships, along with some possible ways to confront those challenges. We've come to see relationships as the living and evolving things that they are. Let's reminisce in a little more depth about the highlights of our journey. Many people see sex, sensuality, and sexuality as essentially the same thing. As we've noted, though, they're all different, though complementary. Sensuality is the gateway to touch and to other sensory experiences. It can serve as an exquisite means of nonverbal communication. Sexuality is the expression of our masculine or feminine energies, or combination of those, manifested through the many ways in which people can connect physically with one another. Intimacy is an expression of intimate emotional connection, a sort of connection that plays out mainly in the realm of the emotions. Another of the topics we visited is that of pleasure, and the role of sexuality in the exchange of pleasure. We've noted that the science of sexology is founded on a premise that pleasure is a fundamental human birthright and a basic source of human joy. In reviewing both my own training as a sexologist and through an interview with the preeminent sexologist Dr. Patty Britton, we've seen how the art of sex coaching can promote a life-affirming sense of sex positivity in people. We've also seen how the rich expression of sex involves so much more than just physical union. While simple physical sex can be very satisfying, it can be vastly deeper and more emotionally satisfying if it's accompanied by emotional intimacy. Such intimacy can enable a spiritual connection between individuals through which each participant can transcend themselves and unite deeply with their partners and with the world that they share. We've come to understand that human relationship is a vast landscape to explore. In several posts, we've considered what relationship is and what forms it can take. Before we can relate to others in a healthy and satisfying way, we need to understand our partners. And in order to do that, we must first know and understand ourselves. We've repeatedly noted the central importance of self-knowledge. Our society doesn't place much importance on self-understanding. Not surprisingly, some of the cornerstone traits for relationship, such as empathy and caring, seem to be scarce commodities in our culture. That can make it difficult for us to relate deeply with others. One of the reasons that self-knowledge is so important is that it's the path to our understanding of our core needs and desires. To find satisfaction in life and to minimize stress and conflict, we need to know what we want and don't want in our lives. That applies across all aspects of our lives, be it employment or relationships or sources of pleasure and entertainment. Once we're confident that we know our true needs and desires, we can make choices that move us toward those goals. Without such an orienting understanding, though, we're basically flying blind. In exploring the nature of relationship, we've also entertained some of the practical aspects of maintaining healthy relationships. In keeping with the importance of self-understanding, we've explored how to make choices that reflect our personal core needs while maintaining the flexibility to compromise with our partners in areas that don't undermine our core self. We've explored the importance of compromise, negotiation, and mutual accommodation in collaboratively deciding how to build a shared life with a partner. Our understanding of the need for mutual accommodation and mutual receptiveness led us to the metaphor of two open doors that crystallizes the nature of relationship. Each of the partners in a relationship must be willing and able to open their personal door of receptiveness to their partner before any intimate connection between those partners is possible. A relationship of deep connection is definitely a two-way street. Over our first year together, we've also taken a look at several of the rather different forms that intimate relationships can take. We've examined monogamy, along with the benefits and the challenges that can accompany that style of intimate relationship. We've also considered several of the possible forms of ethical non-monogamy, or ENM. In several posts, we've noted that a given society typically has a preferred form that intimate connection takes. In Western cultures, that role is held by monogamy, which is therefore the mainstream form of deep connection. Other societies embody different mainstream relationship preferences. In each case, the society typically accords a privileged position to mainstream relationships, and that preference is backed by preferential legal protections. In counterpoint, non-mainstream relationship styles can find themselves in a disadvantaged or even a repressed position. In American culture, there exists a de facto relationship escalator that prescribes how a committed relationship is expected to evolve. That escalator progresses through stages of initial acquaintance, through increased and broadened sharing of lives, into statements of choice and commitment, and then into potential creation of a family and beyond. ENM relationships often defy that script. Such relationships include sharing multiple sexual partners, or swinging, as well as various forms of polyamory, or sharing of multiple deep emotional attachments, usually accompanied by sexual connections. Like monogamous relationships, non-traditional multi-partner relationships come with a host of both benefits and challenges. The partners in ENM relationships lack the clear roadmap that guides traditional monogamous relationships. However, such partners are at liberty to create a designer relationship that is tailored to their particular needs and desires. Pursuing such a relationship requires well-honed communication and interpersonal skills, as well as a high degree of personal flexibility and willingness to adapt to change. The resulting graduate-level relationships can be exceptionally rewarding and satisfying, though. In reviewing the past year of sharing my thoughts and observations, I'd like to re-emphasize my motivation in taking on this project. My desire is to help build community, more specifically to build a framework for community in which the participants are invited to examine their own lives, clarify their desires for relationship, make choices that set a clear path forward for themselves, and then support one another in creating deeper connections. The Two Open Doors community has continued to grow slowly. Over the next year, I plan to take steps to nurture and perhaps accelerate that growth. I firmly believe that our society is in dire need of a path toward establishing deeper and wider personal connection with one another. I'm committed to supporting that, and I earnestly invite you, the listener or reader, to join this worthwhile effort. As the saying goes, it takes a village. I'm sure you'll feel well rewarded for your efforts. I'd like to close this post with something that's much deserved. My sincere thanks to those of you who have accompanied me on this journey. I hope you're finding much satisfaction and food for thought in your commitment of a little of your precious time to read or listen. You're the reason I'm investing my time and effort in this project. I look forward to our next year together. To learn more about Two Open Doors and to engage with our community, I'd like to invite you to visit the Two Open Doors private Facebook group, the Two Open Doors meetup group, and the Two Open Doors website and blog at twoopendoors.com. I also invite you to contact me directly by writing to me at Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, at twoopendoors.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll use your inputs to guide my work on future blog posts and podcast episodes. Thanks for visiting Two Open Doors.